now moving on, our next panel discusses the growth of Indonesia's fashion industry. Let us welcome Mety Choa, international fashion designer, Svida Alisjahbana, CEO GCM Group, Anna Patricia Sutanto, Vice CEO Pan Brothers, and our moderator for this panel, Arya Vita Purnamasari, Head of Corporate Communication HSBC. Please welcome.
Selamat sore para hadirin yang saya hormati. Selamat sore juga kepada para panelis, Mety, Anna, dan juga Svida. Terima kasih sudah bergabung dalam sesi ke-7 dari Alumnas Summit 2021 yang bertajuk Indonesia Rising. Oke, nama saya Vita, saya Head of Communications and Corporate Sustainability PT Bank HSBC Indonesia. Saya akan memandu diskusi sore hari ini yang menampilkan topik seputar growth of fashion industry di Indonesia. Seperti yang kita ketahui bersama bahwa pandemi yang telah berlangsung selama 1,5 tahun belakangan ini berdampak banyak pada aspek kehidupan kita, dan salah satu industri yang terkena dampak dari pandemi ini adalah industri fashion. Karena sebagian besar dari masyarakat harus bekerja di rumah dan juga membatasi kegiatan di luar rumah, ada PSBB, PPKM, jadi keinginan konsumen untuk berbelanja pakaian baru, tas baru, sepatu baru, dan barang fashion lainnya jadi menurun drastis. Perancang busana bukanlah satu-satunya yang bermasalah, karena fashion industry juga merupakan industri yang sangat padat karya, produsen berskala kecil seperti pengrajin batik, pengrajin tekstil tradisional lainnya juga harus berjuang untuk bertahan hidup. Sore hari ini kita akan membahas bagaimana kita dapat mendukung industri fashion di Indonesia untuk keluar dari pandemi dan terus memajukan industri fashion dan mendukung pemulihan perekonomian dan pertumbuhan Indonesia yang berkelanjutan. Sebelum kita mulai diskusi sore hari ini, saya ingin memperkenalkan panelis kita yang sebetulnya sudah tidak perlu diperkenalkan lagi, semua orang pasti sudah kenal ya. Yang pertama, selamat datang kepada Miss Mety Choa. Beliau adalah seorang perancang busana Indonesia yang memulai karirnya sebagai perancang busana dari tahun 2004 dan kreasinya telah seringkali terlihat di karpet merah internasional dan dikenakan oleh artis-artis internasional seperti Lady Gaga dan Gigi Hadid. Selamat datang, Mety.
Halo.
Halo.
Yeah, how are you doing, everybody? Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too. Kemudian panelis berikutnya adalah Mbak Anna Patricia Sutanto, Vice CEO Pan Brothers, salah satu perusahaan manufaktur garment terbesar di Indonesia yang motonya adalah, nih saya suka sekali nih, Clothing the World with Indonesian Heart. Wow, luar biasa sekali. Welcome Anna, how are you today?
I'm good, very tight but good. Thank you very much Vita for moderating. Hi Mety, hi Svida, my partner in everything. Svida.
In everything. Oke, kemudian last but definitely not least, wajah yang sudah dikenal kita semua di dunia fashion tentunya adalah Mbak Svida Alisjahbana, President Director dan CEO GCM Group, perusahaan yang bergerak dalam industri konten dan media terkemuka di Indonesia, terutama di industri fashion. Dan beliau adalah pencetus atau pioneer di balik Jakarta Fashion Week. Welcome, Svida.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Vita. Nice to be here. Looking forward to this discussion.
Nice meeting you. Thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. Seperti yang saya sudah sampaikan sebelumnya di awal tadi bahwa pandemi tentu saja mengubah lifestyle kita, mengubah banyak sekali aspek-aspek kehidupan kita. Dan saya sendiri selama 1,5 tahun kemarin udah lama nggak belanja baju kerja, baru sekarang ini lihat-lihat lagi karena masih balik ke kantor ya. So I'm sure this behavior is very much impacting the fashion industry, and I'm sure because each of you is representing a different part of the fashion industry supply chain. So I'm sure this changes in behavior is very much impacting your sales and then your operation. Maybe if we can take a few minutes to hear your presentation on how this pandemic is affecting your business, and how did you or what did you do to survive the pandemic in the past 1.5 years? Is there any innovation that you did implement in your business? So maybe I'd like to start with Mety to start your presentation.
Okay. I think during the pandemic, of course, fashion industry is one of the most get affected by the situation. But however, due to my nature of work, because I have a lot of custom order, the workload is still the same for me. So it's still busy as usual. However, we have a long period of time when we have like PPKM period, on and off few times now, from last year till this year. So it's, of course, most of the deadlines, some of them is being postponed few months, and I think I have a client that postponed to next year. So I think it's a fight in terms of concept also for the wedding, and for some event, they have more simpler wedding concept and more outdoor, I would say, like a lot of people prefer it that way, and more intimate, smaller events. So therefore, I think for my design, that's affect me also, that I try to create something more simple to adapt to the situation right now, because previously we have a lot of more like a grand wedding and huge with a few hundred to 1,000 kind of guesting. And then now it's become less and more intimate. So that way I also make my design to be more simple to adapt the situation, more easier to mingle, and and of course about some other projects that I have, like trunk show. Of course, it's all has been postponed so far because of the pandemic. It's simply not feasible to do a real show like I did before the pandemic. Yes, but for the workload, I think it's about the same. And then, but during the pandemic, I say that we would have to work more efficiently, because usually I limit the number of meeting clients and things like that, because due to the protocol and everything, we try to make everything more efficient. If usually we meet like 3 times for project, now it's reduced to 1 or 2 times maximum, something like that. Yes. Well, for as how to survive, I think we have to innovate. As I said, I do a lot of more simple concept that is very adaptable to all kind of situation, whether it's a small wedding or it's outdoor wedding and things like that. And I also create some ready to wear. My first ready to wear actually was launched during the pandemic, which is very fun. It's something that I have been wanted to do, and I never got the time to do it. And I have a lot of requests for that. So I actually finally at the beginning of this year, I launched my first ready to wear. Yep. That's all. That's how I survived.
Sort of blessing in disguise, yeah.
Yes. There's always opportunities in crisis. I would always say that. Yes.
Very interesting. Thank you. Now I would like to move to Svida. Maybe you want to share what happened in the past 1.5 years during the pandemic.
Well, I would not forget the first day. That was when President Jokowi announced the first 2 COVID patients. I was like in the middle of judging of the women entrepreneur at the EY office. I was like, oh my God, finally announced. What am I going to do? Because we were like loading for a big women congress called LEAP, Leading, Elevating, Aspiring, Empowering Women. And that was going to be in Nico. We were like loading, and it's like, oh my God, I have to go back to the office and decide. So I went back to the office, call everyone, including the sponsors. And we said like, okay, I think we better stop the loading and stop everything and think of what will happen. Very wishful thinking that I think looking at in China in 4 months, they'll be okay. So probably July will be okay. So probably that was our naivety, or I think everyone was looking that way too. But came July, nowhere that we are into recovery. So we decided Jakarta Fashion Week is the next large event that we going to hold in October. We decided that's going to be full online. So our mind, our heart, our team was like changed 180-degree from real event, pasar senggol, and really everything digital. And from that July to October, it gave us good amount of time to prepare. And I know that what am I? I am like a 50 over something lady, and my team is like 20 and 30, and I just give it to them. Do whatever is needed, partner with everyone, whoever you think would be worthy to add our impressions, and let's run. And that's what we did. And if offline, we gathered 60,000 audience, online, we gathered nearly 1 million unique viewers. Wow. And total impressions that was over 100 million. And so that was really a time that I released it to my team, and then they created a lot of the things I don't understand it. Like when they said, this is the month of July last year, when they said, we are partnering with TikTok. Like, say what? What is it? But we became really, TikTok was really a great partner to us, and thanks to them. And we really pushed the fashion all around Indonesia, all around the world. So we can conclude it that pandemic pushed us to adapt digitally much faster than what we planned to be. Yeah. And if you ask what type of innovations, I would not call that is innovation. I would call it as like a pivoted. We just like preparing from a pasar senggol, from really creating event that's like people moving, creating movement, to like digital operations, making it engagement through digital. And so whether that is our team, whether those are the communities we served on, here we are together and understanding how we can move the fashion trend of 2021 then forward. And as I mentioned that about Jakarta Fashion Week, and we transformed the organization, and also the Women's Congress, that was like the first time that we decided to cancel. That was the first week of March, was pushed to December, Hari Ibu. So it was like from the International Women's Day, push it to the Women's Day of Indonesia. And we engaged over 3,000 women all around Indonesia. That's the beauty of digital. Yeah. And so what does it take? I think agility, open heart, open mind would be some words that I will put first to change the organization to move forward. Our DNA is still the same, but the way we do it, the way we deliver it, it's different. I just heard hashtag, aduh lupa kan, ini gaya JFW, aduh pasti dimarahin sama timku karena salah. The hashtag promoting Jakarta Fashion Week towards today at 4 p.m. is the launching of Jakarta Fashion Week. It has viewed 49 million people just this month. Oh my God. It's just so it's how we got like this, finding the power of the Gen Z and putting it together with us, this digital migrant with 20 to 30 years experience. That is the truly beautiful journey in passing this uncertain time.
Yeah. That's amazing. 14 million viewers as of today. That's amazing.
49.
49, sorry. Yeah. That's an amazing journey. So maybe I'll move on to Ma'ana. So you would like to share your stories. How did the pandemic impacted your business in the past 1.5 years, and what did you do to pivot? Quoting Svida statement before.
Yeah, so maybe I need to explain about a bit about Pan Brothers. Yeah, so Pan Brothers is the largest garment exporter in Indonesia, and perhaps for some style or genre, we are the largest in Southeast Asia. And all of our factories are compliance, socially compliance, technology compliance, and safety compliance. Before the pandemic, actually before Indonesia announced the first incident or the first case, Adidas and some of the global brands have reminded us about the Wuhan. And we actually have taken a protocol or prevention measurement because we employ about 34,000 workers across our 25 factories, wholly made in Indonesia, West Java, Banten, as well as Central Java. So we focus on how to protect our workers and the family of the workers. And by then, actually, because we are a garment maker, we also make a mask for our workers to protect their well-being as well as the family. So along 2020 as well as 2021, we distribute several times the mask because we believe in protecting first our workers, because our workers is actually the asset. So beyond our automation and digitalizations within Pan Brothers, actually, we believe more in the humanity and the human behind it. And because of that, all of you should also know that because of the geopolitics across US as well as China, this is very interesting, yeah, because we are US graduate, yet we still do a lot of imports from China, right? We actually get a lot of attentions and a lot of shift of orders from these geopolitics issues. And Indonesia is one of the country, I have to say today proudly, Indonesia as Indonesian's company and Indonesia, that we are the only country that actually have a very PPP communications. What is PPP communications? It's actually public, private, and people partnerships, where during the pandemic, the government has done a very good commitment to the private sectors as well as people sectors, that we are insisting on having the industry still work from the office or factories. And because of it, actually, we have been deemed as the industry that are very committed with our sectors, with our passions. And therefore, actually, in year 2020, despite all this pandemic, and of course, the world demand on clothing is less, but because of the shift from China, as well as some of the factories that has closed down period, actually, we have shown an increment of sales in year 2020. And that's not only it, right? Because we are also producing the PPE as well as the mask for Indonesia and also to export, right? So 2020 versus our 2019 for the brands, yes, we saw a little bit down, but actually the whole brand shift some of the orders despite their reductions of sales of 30 to 40% globally. But to us, to Pan Brothers, actually the reductions is only 10%. And some of the brands actually increased by about 30%. That's 2020 compared to 2019. How about 2021? All of you might know, apology to say this, the financial sectors or the banking industry in Indonesia has not fully committed to the sustainability of this business. Therefore, actually, earlier this year, we reached out to our supply chain within the brands as well as the suppliers. We holding hands and we are able to manage our liquidity well. And we actually have booked also at the end of this year more increment compared to 2019 for 2021, provided that this year we actually did not do much PPE. We do not do much mass as well, except for CSR and for our own use. Yes, we still produce mass, but not as massively as last year. So on that note, just to give you an idea why Pan Brothers are still who we are today. It's just beyond automation and digitalizations. We have our human heart and humanity. And our mindset is Pancasila because we believe in, Pan Brothers culture is IPAN. It consists of integrity, passion within the industry, action-driven, and nationalism. And our nationalism is well implemented in our 5 fundamental values of Indonesia, which is belief in God, humanity, and united in diversity, or unity within Indonesia, also working in team, as well as welfare of the people of Indonesia, as well as Pan Brothers. So earlier, Vita, the reason why we take the motto clothing the world with Indonesia heart, because we want to show to the world that Indonesians can commit, Indonesians have resilience. Indonesia is a country where unity in diversity are being merged into one, where all the talent, all the creativity, all the innovations is one within our commitment to the world on quality, quantity, because it has to be precise and within time, and also with compliance, with sustainability as well. So on that note, I would like to say that a lot of us here in Indonesia and in Indonesia business community actually feel that this is the way we need to move on, the PPP, the public-private and people partnerships, and let us not divide further with different understanding. And I think like what Svida has mentioned, as well as Mety and yourself mentioned, I think there's always a silver lining for all this pandemic. And at the end of the day, we know exactly how Indonesians should behave on the time of crisis. And this is it, right? There's only rising up, there's no going down, because we prove ourselves that we can, right?
Yes, yes. That's a very, very powerful statement, Mana. Thank you. And I think there are similarities between what the three of you did to pivot. I think, all of you mentioned about actually embracing the crisis instead of being resistant. You guys are actually embracing the crisis and pivot and transform the organization, and also going back to the roots, which Bana mentioned earlier, going back to the values of the company, and also taking care of the people, because at the end of the day, it's the people within our organization that makes the progress that actually supports the business. So that's very, very insightful and powerful. Ana, going back to your point earlier about sustaining the business and also pivoting. All of the business are now talking about recovery, talking about growth. You also mentioned that Pan Brothers actually, in terms of business numbers, did not decline that much, only 10%. So now that the industry and the economies are now talking about growth and recovery, so maybe you would like to share, what kind of how can a fashion industry play a bigger role in supporting the economic recovery and growth going forward?
Okay, thanks, Vita, for the questions. I think the key for this one, I'm not talking only on behalf of Pan Brothers, actually. I'm talking about the industry, the whole sectors, right? So the garment, the textile, as well, upstream as well as the downstream, is focusing on how we can collaborate further, because the pandemic actually has shown us how we can go hand to hand. And if we actually can back down our ego, actually we can do a lot of magic together. So within the industry, the sectors, this show that when we collaborate, when we do a lot of direct communications, more understanding on what it takes for solution-driven and action-driven, actually there are a lot of value added that we can put into the sectors as well as the products. And when we want to sell to the world, or when we want to sell to the retail sectors, we are not just showing a commodity, but we are actually showing a combinations between what the micro small business can do and what the giants can do together. So we call it integrations, but integrations in terms of decentralizations as well as merging all the talents into one, where individually is unique, yet we offer to the world where the world is not convergent, right? It's divergent. So we can give all the diversifications of talent and then push it out to the quality level that the global want to see. And I do believe, that Indonesians can do it as long as we focus on our discipline on this thing, right? I always believe that fashion is not just about design. Sorry, Mety, I believe you understand what I'm saying. But
Yes,
fashion,
totally agree with that.
yeah, but fashion is about the discipline on the timeliness as well as precisions to execute what we have in mind. Yeah, all the ideas can be just idea. But when we actually can put all that ideas into the execution flow within the timeline, of course, because this is fashion, we are not talking about commodity once again, then, we can actually give that value added back to the world and let them actually choose what they think is best for them. And that's the beauty of Indonesia, right? We have so many islands, we have so many culture, we have so many religions, we have so many race, and we should not look at the difference. We should look at the one way, one solution actually to showcase all the diversifications within Indonesia. That's what I love about Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. Yeah. So I always feel that Bhinneka Tunggal Ika is not just a symbol. It's actually a belief that we can be one, right? And in my sectors, which is textile and garment, and eventually up to the design level, up to the Mety level, and also up to Svida level, which is advocating this industry, is where we should holding hands together, don't you think? Including with the small, medium businesses that we have to push it out. Yeah, so everyone got the pie. The pie is just too big. We just need to make sure where we are going to put ourselves in. Yeah.
Thank you, Ma'ana. So maybe just a follow-up from your point, Ma'ana, Svida, I would like to get your insights as well. What does it take, or what does the industry need? Anna mentioned about collaboration. What does the industry need for it to move forward and to advance further? Whether it's more investor or a small medium enterprises friendly policy from the government, or what kind of support from community that the fashion industry needs right now to advance further?
Yeah, I'd like to continue of what Anne said. There is this foundation that we have to understand. Maybe for some Indonesian in America would not imagine that first Indonesia is really a land of creativity, whether that's in the craft, whether that's in design. In many part of the world, is like in many part of this country, many regions, we always come to creativity because creative world is really happiness. And so designing is actually making you happy. Working for this creative industry is making you happy. So that is the basic foundation. And Indonesia is in the top 10 of the largest textile manufacturers, which I'm sure Anne would know better, and as well as leading in the garment industry in the world. Not to forget, we have the population, the number 4 in the world. So if you put all this together, why aren't we known as like leading labels in the region, or is not in the world? Why is that even in Indonesia there is no apa ya? We know probably, if I ask everyone, they would know Zara, they would know Uniqlo. But if you ask like a label from Indonesia that is that size, that is in the local market, of course, I'm not talking about the global side, but in the local market, except probably Matahari. So domestically, we have a large market that we need to serve, or else import will flood in. We need to be competitive, just like the global products who are entering the market. We cannot just close the country. This is the era of openness. And so we have to be as competitive as they are. Internationally, of course, then we need to build our local brand to go growing global. So that is the basic vision, that unless we unite all the stakeholders, we will be risking ourselves to sink in this wide, vast market opportunity. And of course, to answer your question, Anna and I probably are like the warriors to unite all the ministry offices to unite, because just like one minister to fight and then the other minister doing something else, that would not do us good. We need to be together in this fashion industry, from the Ministry of the Small Medium Enterprises, as they are the one that is mentoring all the UMKM in Indonesia, to the industry minister, to the Minister of Trade, Ministerial of Trade, Ministerial of Education. Don't forget, we are, as we talk about, we really are accelerating into the digital era. Unless there is all the strong vocational program for our labor to accelerate their digital adaptation, we will be left behind. And then the investment board, what is it that they need to do? What is it that they need to catch up to understand that this fashion industry is racing with time? And creative economy ministers to create all this program together, and the stakeholders. I'm talking about the stakeholders as the fashion lovers, the communities after communities who loves the fashion, who loves Indonesian labels, and who also have for import labels maybe, but they need to feel Indonesian labels. They need to celebrate it together. And this one, that together we shall create a multi-tiers program. So if we have, like, as I mentioned, and then I are the warrior, we need to put all our mind, our heart together to create a multi-tiers program to promote the designers forward, with the promotion programs to ensure that every steps are celebrated and promoted, and to create all this, like, whether that's competition from the basic foundation, even the intellects, like, do we have the Muslim fashion landscape mapping of Muslim fashion? Because the Shari'i, there is the conventional Shari'i, there is a very conservative Shari'i. How would they interpret the verses from the Quran into the way they dress, and all the other Muslims? So we need to create like mapping of this, so that we all moving the industry together. We want to love the Indonesian market. We want to push the Indonesian labels to the world. And this takes every level, whether that is building vocational schools, or that is marketing for the designers. And well, we need to build the fashion communities to be stronger and growing, and to grow the love of products coming from Indonesia.
Ya, itu yang paling penting ya, cintai produk Indonesia. Okay, very great insight, Mas Svida. Dan memang untuk to move this industry forward, all this interministerial coordination, communities is very important, especially if we want to go international. And I think going back to how you adapted Jakarta Fashion Week from an offline event, and actually you managed to get more viewers, more visitors by using digital. So in a way, it's actually getting easier or maybe more competitive to go international, because you can start from anywhere, and with the help of digital, you can reach audience globally. So that's a good segue into my next question to Mety about going international. So as Frida mentioned about being competitive. So any insights or advice that you want to give to maybe a young designers or anyone who's running a small medium enterprise in fashion industry about going international?
I think everybody, or I think at least every designer dream about going international. I think everybody. But I think whether you are able, how far can you go, you never know the future. But at the beginning, you will always have to maintain your DNA. I think you stay true to your, your core, like who you are, like your consistency in designing and everything is part of the building your own branding, even before you go international. So I think it's not that you wait for the opportunity to come. I think opportunity can come anytime. It's so unpredictable, things in life, but at least you be prepared for what's coming. And I think, of course, like what Svida saying just now, that to have a platform, like I think I start in 2017. I have been designing for 17 years, but in the year 2017, I was invited to participate in New York Future Fashion Week. So that is also quite a good exposure for me. I think those type of exposure is good for designer. But of course, I didn't say those type of exposure is not costly. Of course, we have to think every time we do show in overseas, there'll be a lot of challenges. And of course, there'll be a lot of costs that rise in whatever we want to do, especially for international project, whether it's a show or it's a exhibition, whatever it is. So I think, but before then, I think social media also helps, to get the exposure you needed. If let's say you don't have the chance to go internationally doing show or dress someone in the red carpet or things like that. But I think you can start anywhere, it doesn't have to be that point. You have to be, everything start from one point to another that will lead you to a further something big in the future that you never know. I think when last year when I create the collection for the mask, because due to the pandemic, I think that we have to innovate, and I think we want to still stay beautiful even though we wear masks. So I create a mask collection, and my mask collection was worn by Lady Gaga in VMAs when she received the awards, and she promoted that wear mask. She tried to bring the awareness for people to wear masks. So I think it's something that I didn't know it will happen when I create the mask. So I think whatever it is, you have to be prepared for when the opportunity comes. So you have to be creative and stay hopeful and stay positive even during pandemic. I think it's such a blessing for me that I got that last year, and I feel like it's sort of like a gut telling me, don't give up, even though everybody keep complaining about pandemic and everything, how it affects our business and things. I choose to stay positive, I think, and I never stop creating. And my main goal is that I have to be able to, even though it's a difficult time for everybody, I have to maintain the spirit, and especially maintaining my workers. I have to make sure they're all well taken care and nobody going to lose job and things like that. So it's quite a challenge for, I think, all sector business, not only fashion. I think we are having facing the same problem. But I still think first think before you thinking of going international, that you also have to remember that you have to maintain whether it's your consistency in designing, maintaining your brand, and maintaining your quality, because it's very, very important for me, because you don't build your reputation overnight. I think it's over years. Within time, people understand the core of, she's specialized in, most of the people will say, I'm a red carpet designer and things like that. I would say, oh yes, okay, thank you. That's very nice to hear that. But for me, it's slowly, but for sure, people know you for your style, your design, your brand. I think that's the most important thing when you decided and thinking about going international.
Thank you. Very, very good advice and insights as well. We have a couple of questions from the audience already. The first question, this is for Anna. So, Mbak Anna, ada pertanyaan dari Lydia. COP26 in Glasgow baru saja dilaksanakan not long ago. Untuk perusahaan garment sekaliber Pan Brothers, how does COP26 affect your business? And what measurement or roadmap plan are you taking to face the future, especially in terms of sustainability?
Yeah, a very good questions, Lydia, as well as Vita for delivering it. So actually, before we are talking about COP26, we all knew that there is Paris 2050, right? So since year 2017, actually, Pan Brothers has pursued the pathway for the SDGs that we are going to pick, and which one that we would like to push, and towards not just green industry, but also economy circularity. So circularity economy. Why? Because most of the major brands that we supply to, which is Adidas, North Face, Ralph Lauren, Arc'teryx, Salomon, Kathmandu, and Uniqlo, and the rest of people who are the brands that are so focused on this compliance. One of the things that we need to focus on is how to reduce the carbon emissions, how to actually reduce pollutions, because just to let you know, before the pandemic, from textile and this industry, we are the second sector who populate the world. So we actually, there is an initiative also on this sector to focus on how, what kind of dye stuff that we use, how much water that we use to produce from end to end, as well as how to be able not just to recycle, but we use all the renewable, not just energy, because it's not only about energy that we are focusing on, but what about the after sales of the product that we actually supply to the brands and the brands afterwards, right? So there are a lot of thinking behind all this COP26 or Paris 2050. But when I did this detailing with the company, we decided last year, 2020, to kick off our SDGs. We have about 10 SDGs goals and 12 targets within the next 10 years. Yet also we focus on how we can tap in the green emissions and also the carbon net zero within the whole industry. It will take time, yeah. It's not tomorrow or next year, but we are pushing in towards more friendly, and we believe with the COP26 and the world commitment, I think it's going to be delayed by 2060 because of India and China is not ready to focus on 2050. But I think Indonesia will focus on 2045 onwards. But then, you know, our destinations, country destinations like Europe or, you know, other advanced countries would focus on how to penalize the products that entering that country if we are not carbon net zero. And that's the reason why we are right now being very particular. And it's not only about Pan Brothers. We can only focus on our factory, but the supply chain within us need to also adapt to this idea of green green products. We call it green products because this is not just factories, but also the products along the whole economy circular. And in December, actually, we will have a big press conference on Pan Brothers on our initiative that have we done this year, 2021, as well as the year to come. Because we have kicked off this SDGs last year, we are going to actually every year do an annual press conference on the steps that we have taken and the steps further that we are going to aim, so that the rest of the industry within Indonesia could actually initiate the same. And that's towards the goal of the unity in one for Indonesia Textile. We would like to be the pioneer for this movement within the garment and textile industry. And for that, we want to showcase ourselves to the rest of the companies in Indonesia within our sectors, so that we actually can share, the pain, and then we actually can share our experience so that we can actually sell to the world when the years to come.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. So now to go international, not only that we have to be competitive and creative, we also have to be sustainable as well, because that's what is demanded by the destination countries, the European countries and the US countries. So yeah, thank you for that. The next question is also from the audience. From Kia, this is a question for Svida. Some say that our future reality is the VR amplified by the rising metaverse technology that was amplified by big international tech company. Will this impact the fashion industry? How do you see the VR technology impacting the fashion industry going forward?
Yeah, I really think that metaverse is coming. I mean, that is what the youth is picking up. I mean, maybe there is no haute couture anymore. What there is like picking up the beautiful pieces and then they wear it digitally and having their avatar digitally. So is metaverse coming? Should be coming very soon. Probably next year we'll have. Part of Jakarta Fashion Week is metaverse fashion. And so I am open to the discussion. I am starting discussion with some, how we'll do this with this metaverse, because that will be the young creative, the young technologists and whatever. I mean, that is what we call as a transformation in fashion.
So for sure, it will definitely impact.
It will pick it up.
Yeah. Our fashion runways and all.
Yeah, the gaming industry in Indonesia is one of the biggest one in the world. So it will pick up quite soon.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you, Svida. Maybe we still have 10 more minutes before we need to close. I'd like to pick up on what Mety mentioned earlier about going international needs a big funding, needs a big investment. So what kind of advice that you can give to all those small, medium enterprises who are looking for funding? Where can they go to look for funding or investments that will help them to grow?
Okay, I think I have a collaboration partnership actually with the government. And that time they have exhibition in Singapore, and I'm one of the designers that's chosen to represent Indonesia back then. I forgot what year is it. I think like around 3 years ago, I think. So I think it's one of the good way to get yourself exposure. As I said, actually now you don't really have to go overseas to do a show in order people to know your design, because the social media has been, it's spreading, everything you do can go viral very quickly. So I don't think it's necessary to do that, because I've been doing this for 17 years. Back then, the social media is very different from nowadays. It's not as strong as today. So I think not necessary, but it would be great to have a platform for young designer and even a senior designer, we all still need certain partnership either with government or like what Svida mentioned just now. There's how to bring all the designer get the exposure they needed in order to get their design known to overseas. Of course, there'll be funding needed, and of course, I think it's not how to say this. It's not and always easy, and you don't have to do certain thing in certain way. That's how I put it. Not everybody has to go through this way in order to get your design known internationally. But sometimes, like my case, it has been, I did the New York Couture Fashion Week, and it's a start of the exposure. And then I have social media also helped me to get a better exposure and things like that. So for funding, I think you can be self-funding, of course, but I would suggest a collaboration, partnership either with a government or with certain organization, I would say, that we go together as a designer. So for me, when I go to US and when I have this show or I dress someone famous in the red carpet, I never thought of, oh, it's me that's there. The feeling is the joy that I'm Indonesian designer, one of the Indonesian designer that made it to that point. And it's really, really means something to me because I'm very proud to be Indonesian. And I'm so proud, like if my fellow designer, someone dress someone, and I'll always congrats them. For me, it's like we are together in this together. We are bring names. We are not just our name, but we as Indonesian designer, of course. And I hope that maybe from a government or organization, we get a little bit more support. That would be great, because the funding is always, I think all designers facing the same problem. Like when we do a show overseas, it's gonna cost us extra more than when we do so in Indonesia.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. You add to this point?
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Okay. True that exposure to the international is great, but we have to remember a lot of our labels, even they are not expert in understanding of the direct to consumer and the wholesale market. So before going to the international market, they need to be educated. They need to learn. I'm sorry to use the word educated. They need to learn. They need to learn that going for the wholesale market is a different game. That it takes a lot of planning from creating the collections, knowing and pitching of what about that collection, and then creating knowing the positioning of that collection. Where is the positioning in the market? Is it for the Walmart? I mean, not is it for the lower end or is it for the high end? Is it going to be worn by celebrity or is it going to the mass market? So positioning, knowing positioning is important. And then the pricing. The pricing is to know, okay, if someone asks you, hey, I'm interested to your collection and I want to order 1,000 pieces, you already need to know where you're going to make it. It's not going to be at your back at the garage at your house. You need to have already some sort of planning that if I got this order because I'm attending a trade show, I know I'm going to produce it at Anne's factory because I already got the pricing. I already make the pricing sheets. The pricing sheets of the wholesale market, the pricing sheet for the MSRP is how much. So it takes a lot of learning process to be from where they are right now, probably direct to consumer, selling e-commerce. Selling e-commerce these days is crazy. I know labels is like one SKU ordering about 4,000 pieces. This is the power of social media marketing and e-commerce. it is an unstoppable engine to go direct to customer and ordering in a big way. But when you pick the international market, yes, it is a different game. And I would like to say that not everyone have the dream of going international. There are labels who have the capacity to go international. They just simply say, enggak mbak, aku maunya pasaran domestik.
Yeah,
And they are big.
Yeah.
I'm talking about one of the label that I will never forget to say that to me is Cotton Inc. When they joined the program of Indonesia Fashion Forward, that is an incubation program, and they just say, yes, I'd like to take this program, but I'm not interested for the international market. I'm interested for the domestic market. And look at where they are now. They are growing, and then they got investors. I don't know where stage of investor they are, but they are growing very big, very quickly. So yes, education, again, what is it needed? Your question in the beginning, it is really assistance from the government to have this vocational or mentoring international level for them to jump up, to be accelerated.
Yep. Agree.
Yes, agree. Yes, I think it's a very different thing between going international as a designer or going international as you want to produce something for mass market. I totally agree with Svida. And I think it's a lot of learning process. As I know, I just launched my ready-to-wear this year, beginning of the year. A lot of things that I learned. It's totally different when you're doing something couture and you're doing something ready-to-wear collection. So I think I agree with a lot of learning process, that's for sure. And if you're going international, you have to prepare a lot, especially when you do trade show, like what Svida said, you have to be prepared. Yeah. If someone suddenly just drop a 1,000 or 4,000 order, you would have known your cost and where to order and everything, because you won't have the capacity and say, oh, I'm not prepared for this. It's not, in my language, it's not even funny to go trade show and with that kind of thinking.
Yes, that's very true. Well, yes. Unfortunately, the time is up. I have been getting a lot of reminders that our time is up. So I would like to maybe summarize all the insights that we discussed this afternoon. I think in order for us to grow and also to continue to survive in this economy that is very volatile and uncertain, is that we need to embrace the crisis, embrace the new technology, and also collaborate and protect our people. And also, like Anna said, going back to the root, really maintaining the values of the brand and really moving from the heart. I think that's how we can continue to grow and also keep us survive in the uncertain times. So Anna, Svida, Mety, thank you so much again for your insights. It's a very, very insightful discussion. I personally learned a lot. Nowadays, when I go shopping, I will think about how many SKUs this particular model has sold. And I'll think about all the supply chain in fashion industry. It's not as simple as just, clicking the online catalog that all the consumers are just doing right now. So thank you again for your time, and thank you again for your insights. Bapak Ibu teman-teman semua yang hadir sore hari ini, semoga discussion hari ini bermanfaat and also very educational for all of you. Thank you so much for joining Alumnas Summit 2021. Sampai jumpa di acara selanjutnya. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Yeah.
Thank you.